Everyone, I am so excited because in just a second I am going to be introducing the author of this book, and his name is J. Ronald M. York, and I think he just goes by Ron. So anyway, this book is so good, and the reason he calls it Songs from an Imperfect Life is because throughout the book he writes songs. He is an amazing, amazing writer, guys. This story is about his childhood, which was very abusive. And we're going to hit on those topics, of course, but it's going to still be fun. I can't wait to talk to him. And, it's a book of hope. I got a lot of hope out of this book. And as all you guys know, I feel like I'm the perfect person to interview him because anybody who knows me and have watched my videos, that I went through childhood sex abuse, and my story is just crazy too, but it's not about me, it's about him. But I feel like I can really talk to him, and I think we're going to be able to really relate on that level. So I'm very, very excited to talk to him. And everybody, here is Ron. Hi everyone, I am so excited because today I am speaking with author Ron York about this book. This is his second book, and I can see that it's like glitter, it's kind of like the cover's kind of shiny, but it's called Songs from an Imperfect Life. And it is not a long book, but as you can see, I've got pages. I didn't try to mark them because I'm trying to do, I don't like to ruin the pages, but I've got pages marked, and I loved it. It was so packed full. I love memoirs. This memoir was so good. I wish I would have had time to read your first one, but if you don't have time to read his first one, you can still get this one. This book came out in March, and thank you, Ron. Thank you so much for talking with me.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I always think it's interesting how authors come into my life, in what order, and I think about all that kind of stuff. And I was raised very Christian in a Christian church, just like you, and I suffered from the age of 2. I was sexually abused by my father, 2 to 18. And so when I was reading this, I don't talk about it a lot, but I don't hide it. I mean, it's your story, but I just wanted to tell you that I feel like I'm the perfect person to interview you about this book because we can relate on so many things. Our story is not the same, but I think with abuse victims and survivors or whatever, our story is the same. And it's a time in our life when people are standing up and they're not taking it anymore. But you and I were children, and it's a little bit different when you're a child and having to go through it. And I just want you to know that there were times in this book that made me cry. And because the way you stated things, it put words into my mouth that I didn't know were there. And I think that's what it will do for people who also were, experienced similar things. And you did it so beautifully. So I'm really happy that you wrote this book.
Thank you so much. And first of all, I'm so sorry for what you have been through. I have been amazed. It started with the first book, and I had no intention of actually writing this book. The first book is based more on my parents' story. When I found out long after they were gone that my father had been arrested for molesting a 13-year-old in his Boy Scout troop. But I could not tell their story without being honest and say that when we left Miami to escape all of the scandal and moved to Tennessee, of course I knew none of that, that within a few years I was being molested within my church. So the people that reached out to me with that first book and started telling me things within their lives, some of them saying it's the first time they've talked about it, I decided that if my embarrassing stories can help start dialogue for someone else, then I would continue, and that's when I wrote my book.
Well, I just feel like it's so brave of you because everybody, when I'm around writers all the time, and if I tell anybody a short version of my story, they say, well, why don't you write it down? Well, every time I've tried to write it down, I haven't been able to. So I look at people like you who actually can, and I'm like, first I was waiting my dad died in 1988. So first I was waiting for him to die, and then he did. And then I was like, well, I can't write a story while my mom's still alive. And then she died. And now I'm like, well, I can't. But, I always come up with an excuse. But I think there are people that are meant to do it. And I think the way you did it was so beautiful. And not only your story, but the songs that you write in here. You are such an amazing writer. Okay. And I think those were the times that I cried and I smiled. And I mean, it's not depressing in a way, it's deep, but it's also, I felt like it was a book of hope. Okay. Because you can get to the other side, and we've grown up and we've gotten to this place because of whatever we went through. But the part that I loved was that both of us grew up in church. I thank God I grew up in church. Okay, it saved me. My family was there sometimes when my dad was mad at God or wasn't mad at God, and it went back and forth. But do you, even though your abuse started in church, are you grateful that you were there in church? Like, I feel like you are.
I am, as I have stated, I had pretty much given up the church, but I never gave up the Lord, and I don't think He gave up on me. And I have to believe that there's a reason for the things that happened to me, and that reason may be now that I can share that story, something that I've kept to myself all these years. But timing is everything, and I've reached the age that it doesn't matter, what
Right.
others think, and
Right.
so I feel free to tell. And if you judge me, you judge me. But if
Yeah.
I can help, then that's even better.
And you were so out there. I mean, this talks about your life from childhood all the way through as an adult, and you just laid it out there, way more than I don't know if I can, but I'm so happy you did, because it's, what is it? What is the saying? We're as sick as our secrets, so it's like those secrets that we were forced to keep, like as a child, we were as sick as those secrets that people forced us onto us,
Well, this time around, I actually asked for professional help. Um, More or less, I wanted someone to explain to me why I acted out the way that I did, give me some explanation for that. And I told the therapist from the beginning, I'm writing a book. And he said, and that's fine. Do not think of it as a book, or you're going to censor yourself. Just put everything down and write about it, which I did. And when it came to the end, I didn't go back and take anything out. It was all there,
Mm.
and I had talked about it. I had written, I had proofed, I had gone through. It was so much in my mind that I was comfortable with it by the time the book was released. And you talk about the songs. He asked me early on, did you ever journal or keep a diary? And I said, no, I didn't. And so I'm writing this one story about a relationship when I was in college, and I'm thinking, wait, I wrote a song about that. And I pulled this file of lyrics, and I read through that, and then I started reading through the others, and
Mm.
I realized that, I mean, all the way back to junior high. Now, some of those, the teen angst, I mean, they're just dreadful, the lyrics and all. But as I read them, I realized I had been journaling all along. These
Oh,
lyrics told the good and the bad and the things that were going on in my life. That's why I had to incorporate them into the stories.
they really did. And I didn't either. I didn't journal either. But what I loved about my favorite thing about what you did with this book is that you something that I'd always thought about. It's like, why is this happening? Why, things that we don't think of as a child, because we're not saying it in the moment as a child. But when I went back to reflect on it after reading what you said, is that what we were getting was attention. Okay, good or bad. As a child, you're getting attention. I was getting attention for not telling. I was getting attention for, even though I didn't want it, it was, you're still getting something from him. I was getting something. I was getting attention. And when he would be mad at me, I I was like, oh my God, how do I make him not mad? Because they're sick people, okay? And so I was, when you said that, it was like, and I like the attention, and I was getting attention. I was like, oh my God, I was getting attention. Like, of course, what else do adults have over a child? Is attention, right?
Exactly, and it was really eye opening for me because I never through the years would let myself think of everything or dwell on what was going on. You know, you just move past them, and then when I started writing, and you start with that first thing that happened in church, And I talk about it as disjointed memories when we say, there was that time when so and so happened, and oh yeah, and then there was that time that this happened. When I started putting them in order, that first thing, and then moving the other, and then the next, and the next, all of a sudden I saw this progression, the escalation of behavior, of how things went, things I never allowed myself to actually look at. But it was a better understanding of what happened to me, and possibly the reasons why I took the risks that I did growing up.
Yeah. I mean, as I was reading and you kept saying that in your story, and I was like, yeah, things that I used to beat myself up over, for making choices that you can look back on and be like, why did I do that? It just doesn't make sense. But then when reading your story, and I think it's going to help so many people understand, because I don't have it in order either. Writing down and putting it in order is probably the best thing you ever did, because I don't have memory. You don't have those memories in order, you know?
And I think you should write down what, um, because actually I would write about something and that would trigger a memory, that something I had not thought about in forever. And then I started thinking of trying to put them in order and thinking of what year was this? How old was I? I mean, sometimes I would even go back and it's like, what car were we driving then? So it could kind of put it in some order of when, and I realized that, yeah, this happened before that happened, which may have been the catalyst for this certain thing happening. Um, and what I also realized is I would cross the line and, maybe nothing happened. I got away with it, which then I would cross another line and, well, okay. And then another line and another line, until all of a sudden I was so far over the line that it was like, how do I get myself back? Because these things, they just were gradual, one after another, the risks that I took, without consequences, until all of a sudden I realized where I was, and how did I get there?
Yeah. That's what I loved about it. I I sat down to read it, and I basically didn't get up till I was done. Okay?
Uh,
So, I mean, I was, you just had me, okay? Everything just clicked, and it just was so beautiful. And yesterday was Mother's Day. And so I was finishing it, like I'd gone to visit my children, and I got to this song, and I'm going to try to do this without crying, but I want everybody to hear this song that you wrote for your mom. And this should be published. It's published in a book, but somebody should buy this song because it's so beautiful. It's called You Were There. You were there from beginning to end, always my friend, strong as the wind, with faith that would not bend. You were there when I was in a bind, with open heart and mind, support I'd always find in words that were so kind. You were there even when I went away to help me through each day. I'd think of what you'd say, you made this way. And you loved me whether I was wrong or right, good or bad, day or night. And now what am I supposed to do? Life without you, I'll never make it through. Oh God, how I miss you. And when my mom died in 2011, and we fought, but we talked every day. We were best friends, and she was sick for a little bit, like your mom was sick she had cancer too. And when you said, I don't know what I'm going to do, I burst into tears because I remember that moment. It was like you get her through the cancer and everything, and I didn't want to see her in pain. But your first thought after she passes away is like, now what? Now what?
Yeah. Well, I had
That
such a
was
connection
so
with my mother, and not necessarily with my father. My mother was always the buffer between us, and it wasn't until she passed away that I actually developed a better relationship with my dad, because we had to work it out ourselves. But I I think I would have been more lost at her passing if my father, who the strong father that he was, had not fallen apart. But I realized that when he fell apart after her passing, I had to be the strong one and
yeah.
get him through it. And so I didn't really have that chance to. lose it, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, since I didn't have it in that order, I mean, I think the order is really kind of how it should be. I don't question the way that my parents died, and because I got to spend a lot of years with my mom working out my childhood, because I don't, I had to work it out. I had to tell her, and it was not an easy thing. But we did figure it out, and when she died, my first thought was like, no one is ever gonna love me like she did, like,
Exactly.
but that's just how it is with moms too, I think. I mean, but this just somebody needs to buy this song. I mean, it is so perfect.
I did record 8 of the songs
Did
as
you?
a CD that I've done, and that was one of them. I just went back and revisited them. I was so fortunate. As you read, I led church music and
Yeah.
while I was in college, and my parents on Mother's Day would always come to the church that I was leading the music, and I'd sing a solo for her. Well, when her cancer came, I came back to our mother church, and I asked the minister of music if I could sing for my mother on Mother's Day, and he said it would be way too emotional, but if you think you can do it, then yes.
Mm.
And my mother was getting weaker and weaker, and just about 2 or 3 weeks before Mother's Day, the soloist had to bow out, and the minister of music asked me, he said, would you want to move it up and sing now? And because of her health, I said, let me do that. Yes, I'll do that. And so that Sunday morning, I stepped up to the pulpit. My mother and father were up in the balcony. I could see her smiling. And I sang one of her favorite songs, and the church erupted in applause.
Oh.
Not for my performance by any means, but for the love and support. That was the last Sunday she was able to attend church, and she died at Mother's Day.
So Mother's Day, yeah, I did read that. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So because I was reading it on Mother's Day, and I was like, oh.
But that was definitely the Lord working through
Yeah.
so that could happen.
Yeah, and that's why I never found the term survivor to be very comforting for me. I don't know what term I would call myself. I don't know. I knew I didn't like victim because that was around for a long time, and then people switched it to survivor, and I don't even know if that fits me really, but I do like that it sounds better than victim. Of course, survivor sounds a lot better, but I don't know. But what I love is that you said when you gave up on the church, and I had my issues with the church in and out the way you did, but I never gave up on God. And when people would say to me like, how can you believe in a God that would like give you this childhood? And and then I look back and you said it, and I wish I'd highlighted it, but I didn't want to ruin the book because I'm giving it away. But you said he was there. I wasn't, because really bad things could have happened and didn't. And that's what you said. You said there were times when really bad things could have happened and they didn't.
I know there were enough bad in my life, but there were times that nothing was ever violent or harmful to me. As we talked about earlier, attention. It was as pedophiles do. They groom you. They make you feel special.
Right.
So even though I was too young to be aware of what was happening, and it was so long ago before we are really educated in telling children to watch for these dangers and
Right.
all, it could have been so much worse. But the Lord has been so good to me in so many ways and with the book, as you said, there's so much good in my life, so many wonderful things that have happened that when you start taking the bad and writing about it, I did not want the book to be just one after another of something bad and make it look like I had a horrible life, because I had been blessed in so many ways. But I think all of these experiences have made me what I am today.
Yeah. Yep. That's how I feel too. And especially I think we get more perspective even when they leave, when our parents leave. It's like, even though that's hard, we get some perspective on what they did give us, on what, I can, I look back and I can think about a lot of things, and I also know that they had their own things too, and they did the best with what they were given. And, It's an accepting of that too.
Well, and knowing what my parents went through, which I did not know at the time, of course,
Right.
never knew. They kept it secret of my father's crime, which he admitted guilt to, but was released, left for Tennessee, and my mother, once the house was sold, we moved with him. But to think that through all of her life from that point on, like an alcoholic is one drink away from starting again. And so
Right.
I would think she would always have that fear, and anything that was out of the norm that my dad did. Also, the fear of would would our friends in Tennessee find out somehow?
Right.
And then our life that we have created here would be ruined because of what took place in Miami. So at the end of reading everything that my mother, the letters that she wrote, and everything that she went through, I mean, it just elevated her to sainthood in my mind. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but my publishing name, because of her family name of Broadway, and I named the publishing St. Broadway Press as a nod to her.
Mm. I know. I love your mom.
She was so much stronger than I ever knew.
Because, and like you said, like the time when they were going through all of that, there was no social media, there wasn't Google. You couldn't Google his name and come up with everything. So it's so destiny or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it protected them from that, from being able to just move. But like you said, she must have always looked for, what was it? What was and she had to keep the family together, even holding on to, hopefully he's okay now, and, we can move on. And, I can't imagine that. So I give her all the credit in the world.
I mean, there have been some that said, I can't believe that she didn't leave him and all. Well, I mean, it was the 50s. It was a different time
That's
period.
right.
She loved him. She believed in making it work.
Right.
And she was his rock, which I certainly realized after she
After she
passed
died.
away.
Right.
He was the outgoing, more vocal presence in the family.
Yeah.
But he would be nothing without her.
No. And the fact that it did work, and my parents didn't get divorced either. I mean, which is, I don't know what my mom in this day and age, I mean, what she would have done, but not just what he did to me, but he was an alcoholic, drug addict. I mean, the shit she had to go through. It's just,
Uh,
women just don't put up with that stuff anymore.
no,
But it was a time, and I can look back and look at like what she did have to go through, and be appreciative of that. And so the timing of this book is like I said, it's so important. We're having all of this stuff come out. I'm so grateful. Like you said, everything is about timing, and this came out at the perfect time because people are standing up, and you don't, and our shame doesn't seem so like, oh, look what happened. It's like all of a sudden you realize you weren't alone. We weren't alone. There were many, many other people going through things far worse than what we went through. And, and I love seeing that. I love seeing people stand up and say, I'm not going to be shamed. Because shame was a big part for me. And I know it was for you.
and as I said in the book, there was no one I felt I could talk with. I could not tell my parents what was going on.
Right.
I certainly could not tell anyone in the church. It was happening in the church. And so for a child as young as I was, it's like, okay, this is part of it, I guess.
Right.
But then even you don't tell your friends for fear that I was already bullied enough and made fun of. And so to tell something like that and a peer not understand, then you just exposed yourself to more ridicule. And so
Right.
that's why it was all just kept inside for all these years.
Yeah, well, I just want to tell everybody, each and every one of the songs on these chapters is just amazing. And like I said, this book is a book of hope. I love that it wasn't depressing, and it was more just like, yeah, he's being so honest. And if somebody like you can be as honest as that, maybe we can all be honest, and it's not that bad.
I think you just have to start talking about it. And what I have learned with the first book and now with this one, so many people just need someone to listen. We are we're at a point that it seems like if someone is talking, we are so busy thinking to ourselves, how are we going to respond? And not necessarily listening to what they're saying.
Right.
And so what I have found is so many people just need someone to listen to them.
Yes.
And so people have told me these incredible stories, and it breaks my heart. And um, but they just need to get it out.
Yeah, and aren't you so happy that you can be that person that people feel safe talking to? Because, when you put yourself out like this, other people can say, well, if he went through that, then he's not going to judge me. He's going to just
Exactly.
listen. And that's why I think these books are important, because we need somebody that's not going to judge. And so when you say what you went through, and they can be like, oh, well, he gets it. He understands it from that way that nobody else would understand. And I think that's awesome. I really do. I think it's awesome that you've been able to live this long, to be able to write it down and be able to have people come to you that they couldn't go to anyone else, and have you be that person. And,
Thank you. A few years ago, if someone had said this is the direction my life was taking,
ran
I,
away.
I know. I mean, I never even thought about writing until I discovered these letters exchanged between my parents
Oh,
and the newspaper articles, and realized what they had gone through. And so that's how I started the first book. I thought these letters are this incredible time capsule of the 50s of what my
right.
parents went through. But then if you put that out, that's just a blip in a very long life, and that would be all that people know about them. So that's how I started writing, so I could talk about the parents that I knew. And then, of course, then that led to this. Um, and I just, with that first book, I said, Lord, I am, whatever direction you have for me, I'm willing to go.
There you
And
go.
so I'm thrilled with the response that it has had. And if it can help, then that's all the better.
Oh, that's awesome. So are you working on another book? Are you working on anything else? Because you are an amazing author. I mean, this can't
Oh,
be
you're
the
so
end.
kind. Thank you. I actually, I do have a couple of book ideas that I have an outline for one that still kind of life experiences, but one of them might be more in the fiction uh, line,
Great.
but still, yes, I have some ideas. I am doing a weekly blog, which I'm enjoying. That's on the website. That just kind of things that are related to the book and life experiences, and so
Oh,
I'm enjoying writing. I really am. I
I
want to
know it.
continue.
Yeah, I will have all of Ron's links underneath here for everybody. And I just want to show off this cover one more time, because after I had gotten done reading it and went back and looked at the cover, you see the church there in the thing. I was like, oh wow, how did I not see? Sometimes you don't look, and you just I just saw the notes and the song, and then I was like, oh my goodness, look at that. And that was just, it's perfect, perfect cover. And there's the back. Like I said, I will be giving this book away when this video comes out, because I want everybody to read it. And the link below will also be to his Amazon link right to this book. You hit one button, and then all you hit is click, and you can buy it, and you can get it on Kindle too. So I just want to thank you. I'm so blessed. I was so blessed to read this. Okay,
Thank
it's
you.
very important, and I'm so happy to know you.
Same here. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, and then when you write your next book, you know where to find me, right?
I do.
You can just find me.
I need to send you the first book.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can, when your next book, we'll talk again, and we can put it out there when the book release. And so anyway, I'm very blessed. Thank you so much, Ron.
Thank you.
Okay, have a great day.
You too.
Okay, bye bye. Well, as you can see, that was just amazing. If you made it to this point, you watched our whole interview. He was so out there. He was so honest. Everyone, go get. It's not a big read, and it's packed. Okay, packed full of great stories, and like I said, his songs, and somebody will be receiving this in the book giveaway. I will have all of Ron's links. Thank you, Ron. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that I got to meet you, and everyone, have a great day.